It is just one foot in front of the other, one action, and then you'll figure out the next. It is one step at a time when creating change in your life. And you don't need to know all the steps before you get started. You don't even need to know really exactly where you're going to end up. You just have to have some idea of the direction that you want to go and just start taking actions that you think will move you in that direction. Hey there, lovely. If you're a driven and highly ambitious woman who has checked all the boxes, followed all the rules, only to realize you don't actually feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you're living your purpose, then you are absolutely in the right place. My name is Melissa Chavis. I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I am absolutely obsessed with helping you discover your true purpose, that thing you were put here on this earth to do, so that you can live the most fulfilling and abundant life possible. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I just want to start by saying I am so grateful for you joining me here today and being a part of this conversation with me, because this truly brings me so much joy and really lights me up. And I just love being able to be here and have these conversations every week. So thank you for joining me here. I've been thinking a lot lately about this idea of being stuck or feeling stuck. And, as you can imagine, most of the women I talk to on a regular basis report feeling very stuck in their lives right now. Or at the very least, unsure of how they want to move forward, right? So I want to dive a little bit deeper on this topic and look at how we might be able to reframe this. And also, I want to talk about how feeling this way is actually a good thing. So first, I want to say that your words and your thoughts are so incredibly powerful. They hold so much weight in your life. And I mean, literally, your thoughts are what create your lived experience or your reality. So when you're constantly saying, I feel stuck, or constantly thinking, I feel stuck, or I feel confused, or I feel overwhelmed, when you're constantly saying these words or thinking these thoughts in your brain over and over and over again, you are literally creating the result that you're getting in your life by thinking those thoughts, saying those words, and feeling that way over and over and over again. And so you can imagine, when you are constantly saying, I feel stuck, then you are always feeling stuck. And when you're feeling stuck, you're not going to try to make forward progress in a certain direction. You've decided and you've confirmed that you're stuck where you are. So how can we reframe this in a way that will create a different result for you? Some options that have been helpful in my experience are thoughts such as, I am finding clarity around this, or I am deciding on my new direction, or I am in transition at the moment, or something like, I am going through some shifts in my life right now. And so, as you can imagine, restating your thoughts in this way helps you to convey this sense of movement and forward progress in this area. So when you say, I'm making shifts in this area of my life, it creates this feeling of like possibility and that like actual change is occurring versus, when you're saying, I feel stuck, then you're probably just feeling frustrated and confused and overwhelmed and all of those things. All of those feelings that aren't going to create the actions that you need to take to really get the results that you want in life. And so reframing helps you to see this in a more actionable way. When you say to yourself that I'm making changes here, or I am shifting things here in this part of my life, then your brain automatically starts looking for ways to make those changes and ways to make those shifts. And so you're able to then create those different results in your life. And I think that this is incredibly helpful for so many different aspects of your life where you're feeling challenged at the moment. And, if you listened to last week's episode, you heard me talk about how perspective is everything. So when you can take a step back and you can reframe your thoughts about your current situation, you immediately change your perspective and get different results. So now that you've heard a little bit about reframing the situation and ways to kind of shift your thinking on this in order to create movement, to create forward momentum in your life and actually create the changes that you really are craving, let's talk about how feeling stuck, feeling a little confused about what direction you want to go is actually kind of a good thing, because ultimately that means that you have realized that there are some things you want to change, and you've realized that change is possible, versus someone who never really feels stuck or confused about their direction. They're typically just sort of kind of staying in that same routine, moving through life in the exact same way, not even realizing or understanding or conceiving that change is possible and that they could change things and maybe feel differently in their life after making some changes. They're probably still feeling some of the discontent and not really feeling super fulfilled, but they just don't really see that there is this possibility for change. And so they don't necessarily feel stuck. So just being able to acknowledge that feeling a little stuck or confused about how to move forward or what direction to go really is a good thing, because it means that you realize there's possibility for change. You realize that you have other options out there. And that is truly the first step to creating those changes, to making other things happen in your life. And so when you are able to consciously realize that you feel stuck, that means that you have realized there are other options and you have realized that change is possible for you. So that is truly a catalyst for creating that change. Because if you didn't feel stuck, you didn't feel confused about your new direction, then you're not even seeing that there are other possibilities. You're not even seeing that change is an option for you. You're staying in your comfort zone and just moving forward business as usual on the same path. But instead, you are realizing change is possible and I want to make change. And you're considering other possibilities. And as humans, we are meant to grow and change throughout life. That's why so many of us are getting to this point where we feel stuck and we feel like we want to make change and we feel like we want to go in a new direction, because ultimately we are meant to, and we're feeling that pull, that call to take a different path or move in a different direction in our lives. Because as humans, we are meant to do that. We're meant to change and grow. So feeling stuck is a great first step. It's a great move in the right direction, as long as you are able to then take a step back and reframe those thoughts into thoughts that will create the actions that you need to take, into thoughts that will help you see the possibilities and help you take action toward those possibilities in your life. So when you're able to reframe it and you're able to see this in a more action-oriented way, such as I am making a change in my life, you're going to start taking actions that will actually change your life. And your brain is going to start coming up with possible actions to take, possible directions to go. Now, of course, it's not going to be easy. There will still be challenges in taking those actions and moving your life in that direction. Because, of course, as we've talked about before, your brain likes to keep you safe and keep you moving forward in the same direction. But when you're able to at least see that change is possible and then frame your thoughts in a way that will help you to create the action and help you to create the change that you're trying to create, you are moving in the right direction. You are realizing that growth and change is possible and that you want to go in a different direction in your life. Feeling stuck, being stuck feels very stifling. It feels like I just can't get traction. I can't move forward. Whereas when you're able to reframe it and say, I'm making change or I'm making a shift, like I said, it can still feel very challenging. You're still going to have to battle against, the fear and all of those things that start to come up then when you start to try to make those changes and take that action. But at least your brain sees it as something that is in progress, something that you are actively doing and not just a possibility that's out there anymore. So ultimately, all of this to say that feeling stuck, feeling confused about your direction, it is actually a good thing. And when you can realize that, see it from that perspective, and then reframe your thoughts around it and start thinking thoughts that will inevitably create more action, such as I am creating change or I am shifting in this way, you're able to then start to take the steps. And truly, it is just one foot in front of the other, one action, and then you'll figure out the next. It is one step at a time when creating change in your life. And you don't need to know all the steps before you get started. You don't even need to know really exactly where you're going to end up. You just have to have some idea of the direction that you want to go and just start taking actions that you think will move you in that direction. So if you're feeling stuck right now, or you're feeling like you're confused about which direction you want to go, where you want to go in life, how can you reframe your current thinking about this situation in a way that will create different feelings and get you different results? How can you just think about the situation differently? And then what happens? What changes for you when you're able to reframe it? When you're able to think about the situation differently, have a different perspective on it? How does that make you feel when you're able to step back and evaluate the situation from this different lens, this different perspective? And what do you need to do in order to realize that change is a good thing and change is possible in your life? And even though it can feel very challenging, it is still something that is worth pursuing. All right. So that's everything I have for today's episode. I'd love to hear from you if this was helpful and if there was anything that you were able to take a look at, evaluate, and reframe for yourself so that you could see it from this different perspective, this different lens. All right. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you back here next week. That's it for another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. You can do that by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel or rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening.